In 1930, the Great Depression had cast a shadow across continents. Nations were struggling, industries were shrinking, and people sought small escapes, moments that made them feel connected again. Football, or soccer as some called it, had become one of those escapes. In packed European towns, on South American beaches, in dusty fields of North Africa, a ball, even if it was just cloth wrapped in string, was enough to bring joy. For years, FIFA's international competition existed only at the Olympic Games, but the sport had outgrown those amateur boundaries. A standalone world tournament, dreamed of since the 1920s, was finally within reach. FIFA's president, Jules Rimet, a man of vision and patience, championed that dream. He believed football could unite nations through sport rather than politics. And so, under his guidance, the FIFA World Cup was born. The honor of hosting it fell to Uruguay, a small South American nation that had dominated recent Olympic football tournaments and was celebrating its centennial of independence. Teams arrived slowly, not by plane but by ocean liners cutting across the Atlantic. France, Romania, and Belgium were among the few European nations willing to make the long journey south. On July 13, 1930, in the cold of the Uruguayan winter, the first chapter of this new story began, quietly, modestly, and without ceremony. The setting was Estadio Pochitos, home of Club Atlético Peñarol, located in Montevideo's residential district. It was a far cry from the grand stadiums we know today. Wooden stands, uneven grass, chalk lines drawn by hand. No microphones, no flashing cameras, and certainly no worldwide broadcast. A few local fans gathered, wrapped in coats against the chill, holding thermoses of mate tea. No one yet understood they were witnessing the start of something immortal. The crowd, by most records, numbered 4,444. A strange, poetic symmetry for a day that would mark the four corners of the world uniting under one sport. On one side stood France, the team of Jules Rimet's homeland. They were amateurs, clerks, students, factory workers, men who had never imagined their names would enter history books. Their goalkeeper and captain was Alex Tepeau, strong and steady. Their front line featured Lucien Laurent, a humble forward from FC Sochaux known for his calm and technical precision. Beside him, Marcel Langiller, quick and daring, and André Machineau, a reliable finisher. Their coach, Raoul Caudron, had emphasized discipline over flair. France would play a structured, modern European game. Facing them were the Mexicans, wearing deep red shirts. Their captain, Juan Carreño, was known for his physical play and determination. Behind him stood Oscar Bonfiglio, the goalkeeper, brave, passionate, and destined to concede football's first World Cup goal. Mexico's team had faced a long and complicated trip through the Americas. Yet, despite exhaustion and the cold, they played with pride. For them, this was about proving that Latin America, beyond Uruguay and Argentina, belonged on the world stage. At roughly 3 p.m. local time, Uruguayan referee Domingo Lombardi blew the whistle. History began with that sound. The first World Cup match, France versus Mexico, was underway. The field was bumpy, the ball heavy, and the air sharp. Yet from the opening minutes, France attacked with purpose. Their passing, crisp and short, contrasted with Mexico's more direct style. Then, in the 19th minute, came the moment that would echo forever. A French attack built swiftly down the right flank. Ernest Liberati received the ball, looked up, and sent a precise cross into the penalty area. Waiting there, unmarked, poised, was Lucien Laurent. He struck the ball first time, low and fast. It skidded across the grass, past Bonfiglio's outstretched arm, and rippled the net. 1-0 for France. It was simple, it was clean, and it was historic. That strike by Lucien Laurent became the first goal in FIFA World Cup history. There was no explosion of noise, no commentator to immortalize the sound. Just a few cheers, a few handshakes, and players jogging back to the halfway line. Laurent himself would later say, "We didn't realize we were making history. We were just happy to be playing." The match soon turned rugged. The cold ground made every tackle sting. Players slipped, slid, and collided. Shortly before halftime, tragedy nearly struck for France. Captain Alex Tepeau, charging out to challenge Carreño, collided violently with the Mexican forward. Tepeau fell hard, shoulder injured, dizzy, unable to continue. There were no substitutions in 1930. None. Teams had to finish with whoever could stand. France improvised. They moved defender Auguste Laurent into goal, reshuffling their formation entirely. Yet, even down a man, the French continued to dominate. Their structure held, their passing grew more confident. Mexico fought bravely but lacked cohesion in attack. Halftime arrived with France still leading 1-0. The scoreboard hand-painted, the numbers changed by a man on a ladder. The second half began with renewed energy. France pressed forward, determined to secure the victory that would mark the sport's new era. In the 51st minute, Marcel Langiller broke through Mexico's defense, finishing neatly to make it 2-0. The French players celebrated modestly, a few pats on the back, no choreographed gestures, just quiet satisfaction. Then André Machinot, playing out of his usual position, found himself with a chance in the 70th minute. He calmly placed the ball past Bonfiglio for 3-0. The game seemed settled, but Mexico, fueled by pride, refused to surrender. Juan Carreño clawed one back, the first ever Mexican goal in the World Cup, following a defensive mix-up. It was scrappy, but it was historic. Moments later, Machinot struck again, sealing the score at 4-1 for France. When the final whistle blew, the players shook hands, exhausted and frozen, yet smiling. No trophy, no medals, just the quiet knowledge that they had begun something larger than themselves. What few realized that day was that another match had kicked off just hours later, United States versus Belgium, held at Estadio Gran Parque Central. The United States won 3-0, but by then the first goal, the first whistle, and the first match had already been played. France and Mexico had written page one of the World Cup's story. France's joy was short-lived. In the days that followed, they would lose 1-0 to both Argentina and Chile, failing to progress beyond the group stage. Mexico fared worse, 3 defeats, 14 goals conceded. Yet their courage and sportsmanship won respect from their opponents. Uruguay, the host nation, would go on to win the inaugural World Cup, defeating Argentina 4-2 in the final before 93,000 roaring fans at Estadio Centenario. Jules Rimet personally handed the trophy, later named in his honor, to the Uruguayan captain José Nasazzi. For Rimet, it was a dream fulfilled. For football, it was the dawn of a new era. The years passed, the world changed. Wars, revolutions, new continents joining FIFA, the World Cup becoming a global obsession. But Estadio Pochitos faded into obscurity. By the 1950s, Montevideo had expanded, and the old ground was replaced by homes and small businesses. For decades, the exact location of football's first World Cup goal was lost. Then, in 2005, Uruguayan historians and archaeologists began searching for it. Using aerial photographs, maps, and local memories, they identified the site where Lucien Laurent's shot had crossed the line. Today, at the corner of Cherua Street and Coronel Alegre, a stone monument marks that sacred spot. A single plaque honors the moment the World Cup began. No stadium lights, no crowds, just a quiet reminder that greatness can begin anywhere, even on a small patch of grass in a neighborhood field. From that single match, France versus Mexico, July 13th, 1930, came a century of stories. A tournament that began with 13 teams has grown to include more than 200 nations in qualification. A crowd of 4,000 has become billions watching around the globe. The humble wooden stands of Estadio Pochitos have given way to cathedrals of sport: Maracanã, Azteca, Wembley, Lusail. And yet, every player who walks onto a World Cup pitch, every goal scored, every anthem sung, all trace their lineage back to that cold afternoon in Montevideo. Lucien Laurent would live to see the World Cup become a global phenomenon. In his later years, he was often asked how it felt to score the first goal. He would smile softly and say, "It was nothing special at the time, just a goal. But now I see it was the beginning of everything." That is the beauty of history. You rarely know you're making it until it's already been written. The final score, France 4, Mexico 1. Date, July 13th, 1930. Venue, Estadio Pochitos, Montevideo, Uruguay. Referee, Domingo Lombardi. First goal scorer in World Cup history, Lucien Laurent. Nearly a century later, the spirit of that first match still lives on. Each World Cup, from Maradona's brilliance to Pelé's glory, from Zidane's poise to Mbappé's rise, carries a fragment of that day. When the referee's whistle blows to start any World Cup match, it is, in a way, an echo of that first whistle in Montevideo, when France and Mexico unknowingly gave the world its most beloved sporting stage. It all began with a single ball, a single volley, and a quiet crowd of 4,000 souls on a cold Uruguayan afternoon. The moment football truly became the world's game.